Coming to you from the innovative, immersive Hyundai Virtual Next Weather Sphere. This is Next Weather.
And this is a live look at I-95 South near the stadium complex. Boy, the rain's coming down. It is a rough evening commute. If you know anybody out there on the roads, give them a shout and just tell them to slow their roll. Let's get another check on the forecast. Here's G.
And here's the concern, Yuki. I mean, the sun's set now. It's dark, obviously. You have the reduced visibility because of the heavy rainfall. And so you could easily come up on some of this flooding on the roadways that we've been seeing. And that obviously will put you in a really dangerous situation. Let me open up the doors here and then let's talk about what we've got going on, because obviously a next weather alert, because it's just a dangerous night unfolding. Not necessarily because of the same reasons that we had last night, which was more of the damaging wind concerns. We saw a lot of downed trees and power lines, several tornado warnings. This evening is going to be this flash flood concern, and I say going to be, it is this flash flood concern, because as we go through the next few hours, heavy rain will continue to move overhead, and that heavy rainfall is already producing that flash flooding that we were concerned about. These storms are moving very slow, and they're dropping a ton of rainfall. We're talking 2 to 3 inches of rain in just about 60 minutes. One of the newest flash flood warnings that we have now includes parts of New Jersey. So Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Salem County. We haven't gotten any reports yet of flash flooding, at least in New Jersey, but we have gotten a lot of reports of flash flooding back into portions of Delco, Delaware County, Chester County, and Newcastle County and Delaware there in the Wilmington area. Specifically, let me show you this. These are the flooding reports that we've received so far. We've only seen flooding over the last hour, so these actually have been coming in pretty quickly. This report coming in from Wilmington, this is where we're getting reports of the buildings and street flooding, and people are stranded in this area. So we're working to get information on this one right here, but several other reports of vehicles being stranded. This one there in Quarryville, street and road closures due to flooding, and then vehicles being stranded. And we're probably going to get a lot more reports of that. Just in the last hour, look at some of these radar estimated rainfall totals. Just the last hour, there, over 2 inches of rain, potentially even closer to 3 inches in some places. The good news we can take from this is that the concern is slowly shifting from both flooding and damaging winds to just flooding, though there is some severe thunderstorm warnings. It looks like we're just getting actually information. Just as I say that, we got a tornado warning just came in for Newcastle County in Delaware. So that just showed up on our radar. So we want to make sure we get that information over to you now. So let me pull this up. We've got our table here, and let's get this information here. Appreciate Monica, our producer in the booth, telling us about this. Okay, so let's get right down this to it. Let me get rid of this. Bob, can I hand this to you? Thank you, sir. So tornado warning now. This one just coming in. So we were looking at this line, and I was just about to show this to you. So let's get things situated here. Tornado warning. If you're just joining us, let me show you what we're working with. So there's an ongoing and unfolding flooding concern across much of the urban corridor from Philly down to Wilmington. Now we've got just on the northern fringe of this line of storms that has been moving through Maryland, producing very strong winds, but we're finding now what is a little bit of spin here. So we're looking at this tornado warning. Now this is for Kent, Newcastle counties, and this tornado warning goes until 9:15. All right, so it's 8:48 right now, so we've got some time here to track this storm. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a little bit of real-time analysis with this on the system, so you can see what I look at to try to figure out where the biggest threat is with this storm. So this is right on the border, all right on that county line between Newcastle to the north and then Kent County to the south. And what I'm looking at here is this rotation. So you've got the radar site to the south, all right, down near Dover Air Force Base. And all the red, that's indicating the wind that's going up toward and away from that radar. The green indicates the wind that's heading toward the radar site. So when you have that red and that green in close proximity, you have that rotation and that spin in the atmosphere that would give us that potential for a tornado. So once again, this is what I'm looking at here, and I'll just put this all together here. And we're looking at that rotation coming. This is right in Smyrna. All right, so this is moving to the north and east around 25 to 30 miles per hour. So it will continue to track into Newcastle County and likely move right across 13 right there. So it's right around the 301 area, and then it's moving east toward 13. So let's switch over to our radar product here, and we'll put it in the motion so you can see the larger area here. And there's a noticeable hook here. When I just see that last frame there, you can see how we have that hook, and that's where we could see the tornado potentially touching the ground. So if you're in this area right now, make sure you get into your safe place. Make sure you get away from any windows, put as many walls between you and the outside world as possible, because here, this is a considerable threat for the potential of a tornado. All right, those of you who are just joining us now here on CBS Philadelphia, we were tracking an ongoing flash flooding concern, but now a tornado concern. We've got an increasing threat of a potential tornado with a tornado warning now in effect for Kent and Newcastle counties until 9:15. And this storm has been strengthening literally over just the last 15 to 20 minutes here, moving out of eastern Maryland, right there on the border. There's Newcastle County, there's Kent County to the south, and there is a noticeable hook here within this radar, and that's an indicator to me that we could very well have a tornado on the ground. Nothing confirmed at this point, but I'll tell you, we have to assume that there is a tornado either on the ground or going to touch down here relatively soon. So let me just get some more information to pass along to you, and we can track this thing out. We're looking at this tornado warning staying in effect until 9:15. The storm is tracking to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. So we just got a new sample on this, and I want to time this out for you guys so we can make sure we get everyone into a safe place as the system tracks up to the north and east. Now, this is likely going to be moving across the Delaware Bay here in the next 30 minutes. So we have some towns here. We got Van Dyke. It'll be moving into your area in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Townsend around 9:05, tracking to the northeast. Odessa around 9:15. Thorntown around 9:28, and if the rotation holds together, we could see it moving across into South Jersey there into Lower Alloways Creek. All right, 9:37 is when we would see that. So let's zoom out just a little bit. Just want to show you in relationship to everything else that's going on, because up until this point, to the north, up into the Wilmington, the Philly area, there's an unfolding flash flood concern. I mean, a big concern. Several vehicles have been stranded, but just to the south of all this here is this little bit of a hook here that has developed within the last 30 minutes or so, and it's presenting itself to say, yeah, there's a possible rotation here, and look at this here. So this is what we're looking at in terms of our velocity mode, and this is what's happening here is the radar beam it's reading the raindrops, and it's able to calculate how fast those raindrops are traveling, they're being blown by the winds, and in what direction. And with that, these raindrops right here, so right over Smyrna, are traveling to the north and west. So they're traveling up to the north and west, but those raindrops on the backside, that wind is changing directions rapidly. And when you get that quick change in direction, that's the rotation in the thunderstorm. So we know there's rotation in this thunderstorm right here. It's just the question of, is that rotation forming into a funnel, and is that funnel reaching all the way down to the ground? So this is the concern. This is where we've got the tornado warning in effect for right now. And just to put this also into motion, you can see how we're finding that evolution of that rotation in that mesocyclone or that thunderstorm, that low pressure system that's spinning there, producing that tornado threat right now. So if you are just joining us, it's 8:53 right now. We've got a tornado warning in effect for Kent and Newcastle County in Delaware until 9:15. And that tornado warning just issued a few minutes ago, and that storm system is rapidly racing up to the north and east at around 25 to 30 miles per hour. Now, I do want to continue to keep an eye on this tornado warning, because I want to make sure that if you are just joining in, you know why we're cutting into programming right now. That is a considerable threat right now, but also a growing threat are our flash flood warnings that are in effect for Philadelphia, parts of southern and lower Montgomery County, back into Delaware County, Chester County, where we've had several reports of vehicles, people being stranded by rising water. You see behind me the flashing of the lightning here in Center City. So that, I mean, you've got the gusty winds, you've got the heavy rainfall, and just to the south into Delaware, now we have a tornado threat. Now, it looks like all of this rain that we have in the Philly area, this is just rain. We're not seeing the damaging wind threat with it. Now, clearly a lot of lightning out there right now. So in addition to the rain, you just don't want to be outside because of the lightning threat with all this as well. In fact, let me turn on the lightning right now, and you can see there's not a ton of lightning, but it looks like it was right over the city, which is the view that we have here behind me. And then you look back to northern Delaware, not a ton of lightning. Now you get closer to where we're finding this tornado threat right here, and anytime you get an obvious area of increased lightning, that's a thunderstorm that's got something going on there. And there's clearly some quick wind speeds that are coming in, and they're spiraling around that comma shape that we find right there.
Hey, G, you mentioned that it was moving how fast? 20 miles per hour?
It's moving 25 miles per hour. So this particular cell, yeah, is moving to the northeast at 25 miles per hour.
Does that have anything to do with the intensity or the likelihood that it could develop?
Well, no, that's just the larger thunderstorm with it. So sometimes you see these thunderstorms, they can travel up to 50, 60 miles per hour. And so you're looking at maybe an added force with those winds, Yuki. But within this one, you're looking at the potential for 60 mile per hour winds. And then those winds contained within that thunderstorm are moving to the north and east. So we're able to track that and time out where those 60 mile per hour winds and that tornado threat are going to be at any given time.
Wow. You talked about the hook. Could you show our viewers that hook and why it's so important and why you are convinced that why we got this tornado warning? That hook is what I'd like to see.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different tools that we use, and one of them is your typical radar that we show you every day when we look at rain, and that's what this is. We call this the reflectivity. It's the radar sending out its beam, and it's reflecting back, and it's showing us how heavy and how intense that rainfall is. And with that, Yuki, and everyone at home, see that hook right there. You think about a comma. Right? And so there's the hook right there, and that is the hook where you've got the wind speeds that we were showing you on that other product. The wind speeds are traveling up from the south and east.
Interior room without windows, like a basement, a storm cellar of that nature, or a small windowless room. And if you're in a mobile home or a vehicle, you know, watching us, please find a sturdy shelter, I'm sure.
And you bring up a lot of really good points there, Yuki, and we can break those down. Seeking the lowest floor is usually the best case. Now, we've got the heavy rainfall and we've had reports of flooding, so we really have to be careful. Sometimes the lowest level may not be the safest place because of our flash flood threat that we have as well. So you really have to consider the threats that you have in your home or the building and the structure that you're in right now, because we've had reports of water getting into buildings already. So if we have rising water and then you have wind coming in from outside, we really have to look at those circumstances there. But you're right, though. Generally speaking, a basement, innermost room, sometimes that might be maybe a room underneath or a closet underneath a stairway. I think about a stairway as just another layer of protection between the danger that's outside and then, you know, protecting yourself. And I always say the best way to find that safe place is to put as many walls or as many things between you and whatever the danger is. It could be the wind, the tornado, or the flooding in the case where you want to get away from that flooding as well. Right.
It's 9 o'clock and we're going to stay on CBS until this expires, hopefully without anything forming. And the expiring time is what, G?
So 9:15 is the expiration time for this tornado warning, and we just got a new scan of our radar, and I'm going to go back and forth. So I want to flip back and forth, and I want to show you what I see, and where we kind of have to just take it one scan of the radar at a time. And of course, if there are any reports about what's happening, we will pass those along to you as well. But we're seeing right now that this is still a radar indicated tornado warning. Now this is taking us back to 8:50. All right, so that was about 10 minutes ago. Yuki and I were talking about the hook here and that spinning of the winds producing that bowing feature here that was over Smyrna, and then the hooking back into Maryland. But as we advance this radar here, we'll go to 852, 853. You're still seeing that somewhat of a bowing and a hook feature. And as we advance it up to our present time right now, up to 9 o'clock, there's still that bowing feature. So that would still tell me you have really strong winds, potentially up to 60, 70 miles per hour. But maybe not the hook, maybe not as great of an indicator of that tornado. So we'll flip over to our storm movement or our velocity mode, and we'll do the same thing. All right, we'll go back and we'll see there was a little bit more of a transition between those bright reds and those greens, which that's your change in your wind direction. And then of course, as we advance it out to present time, maybe not as great of that difference, a broader circulation, which is still that larger strong thunderstorm that's moving through, producing the potential for damaging winds, but maybe not as great of a tornado threat right now. So this, again, this is up in Newcastle County into Kent County in Delaware, and we're looking just a little bit closer.
Gee, I'm not seeing many lightning strikes.
Okay, all right, guys. All right, Yuki, we're looking at Route 13, right? You're familiar with this area.
You have Route 13, which is parallel to Route 1. I believe, is that our Route 13 camera?
Route 13. Near Townsend. So this is right here. I've got that on, if we want to go back to the radar, there we go. So this is Route 13 right here. Here's Townsend, and let's go back to that camera now that we know generally where this is near the Fieldsboro area as well, so kind of in between right there. Just looking here, look at the wind blowing, and they're there at the DOT, they're switching around the cameras as well. If you get a second to get a clear image of the road, and I know it's tough with that heavy rain coming in, like we said, the visibility is awful. You're going to see those winds whipping up some of that road spray and that water coming in off the road, and obviously that's going to impair your visibility on the roadway as well. So we're looking at the Route 13 near Townsend traffic camera, and that is on the northeastern side of our tornado warning. So that tornado warning, just zooming out there, goes back just up into the Maryland border right there. Looks like we lost our radar for a second. There's been glitchiness in this radar all evening, so hopefully it continues to come back and doesn't stay lost. But generally speaking, you've got heavy rain all the way down to Dover. Dover has really heavy rain and gusty winds as well. I see those darker reds right there. Those are some really gusty winds all along that line there with those reds and the darker reds, and at times we've seen even some purples show up, and those purples tell us that rain is super heavy, and with this heavy rainfall, it has been those gusty winds as well.
So, gee, our friends in Jersey should be on alert as well, because that is moving east, correct?
100%, yeah, moving up to the north and east. In fact, let's go ahead and let's time this out as the storm continues to track to the northeast at 25 miles per hour. Even if it's not the tornado threat, we're still looking at what is a considerable wind threat. So this will be moving into Salem and Cumberland County, Bridgeton there around 9:34, Upper Deerfield around 9:40. And you think, wow, it's 9 o'clock. It's going to take that long to get to Millville, not until 10 o'clock. I say it's moving at around 20 to 25 miles per hour. Think about that when you're going through a neighborhood. That's relatively slow. So it's moving through, and that means those gusty winds, the heavy rainfall is all going to be sitting over the same area for a long time, or at least it's going to take a long time for it to move through. But right along that leading edge right there is where we're going to get probably a good punch of some of those damaging winds right now. But outside of that tornado warning, we actually don't have any severe thunderstorm warning. So gusty winds within that area probably up around 50 to 55 miles per hour.
And you haven't seen any reports of hail or anything like that yet?
Nope, no reports of hail. The only reports that we've been receiving so far are those reports of the flooding that we saw up into the northern part of Delaware. And I'll just check real quick. We'll look at some of our storm reports right now, and these include any storm report that would come in, be it damage to trees, be it any sort of flooding, and that's what we've had a lot of these flooding reports. Almost every single one of them have actually included either roadways being flooded or people being stranded because of the flooding. And that's, Yuki, I think that's the concern with this. Even though we haven't gotten reports of the flooding farther south into Kent County, you're still working with the same storm system that has been producing this heavy rainfall. So when you've got a tornado threat married with a flooding threat, there's a couple of, they're counterintuitive for what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go down and low for a tornado threat, but you're supposed to run and get high for a flooding threat. So, that really creates a difficult scenario to be in when you've got both of these ongoing concerns right now.
And gee, as this wall of weather was building and moving east, did it come to a point somewhere in Maryland where we said, hey, we better start watching this thing?
Well, it really came to a point where it's moved into an air mass that just hadn't been tapped into yet. All day long you had all the sunshine. And through the evening hours, you had what was a lot of instability in this area right here. So actually, there was a tornado warning in D.C. So we've been watching this since this area of storms was moving up from D.C. Now it's just here. It has arrived. This is what we were tracking during the 5 and 6 o'clock newscast. And it reached the peak heating of the day through around 5 and 6 o'clock. Now we're going into the evening and the storms are just starting to arrive. So it's really just the arrival of this. There is not a ton of spin in the atmosphere, so the tornado threat has not been great today. I mean, you look at all of the storms and we've got this one relatively isolated threat of a tornado. But anytime you get a lot of stronger cells embedded together, and sometimes they'll merge and you have wind speeds maybe coming in from just slightly different directions, that's where you might get a little spin, and that storm might spin up a little bit, and that's where we're getting this tornado threat right now in Delaware. So while there is a concern for maybe an additional tornado warning or additional severe thunderstorm warning, generally speaking, the wind threat has been diminishing over the last 60 minutes or so. So I don't want to discount this threat right now, because obviously what we saw just about 15 minutes ago when we first came on the air with this tornado warning, there was a considerable signature of what could have been a tornado. And now it looks like that tightness of that spin is starting to relax a little bit. But a lot of areas here, a lot of folks will have to just make sure you stay aware of this tornado threat and get to that safe place. Even if you're just joining us now and you're like, oh wow, this is where I live. Get to that safe place. No sense in risking it, and we'll make sure we'll continue to post any updates that we have. We'll pass along any information that we get from the National Weather Service, and it does look like we're coming up on 9:08 right now, so another 7 minutes or so on this warning, and we'll see if we need to continue any sort of warning, be it a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning, as it continues up to the north and to the east right now.
Gee, what does the Weather Service have to see or not see to have that expire at the designated time right now? What has to change dramatically?
At this point, since we're just a matter of minutes away from it actually expiring, they are just going to let it expire. They'll take it up to 9:15. Now, if there is a continued threat, then they're going to issue a new warning, and we won't really know that until we come up and see those conditions at 9:15. This is Route 13 near St. George's here.
St. George's Bridge, sure.
And when you're looking at cameras at night, and you got the heavy rain, let's say, it looks like we keep losing the reception there. Anywhere you've got some of these reds coming in, those darker reds, there's where we're going to have that really heavy rainfall, and you're going to get some gusty winds within this as well. However, the larger area here, and this is again, then here's Kent County, Newcastle County, and right over toward the bay. You've got Deaconville? Yuki, is that how you pronounce it?
You know what? I have never been there, G.
All right. Well, I apologize for those of you here, but that's the heaviest of the rainfall that we're finding right now. So that's really heavy rainfall, and with the heavy rain, you're going to get the flood threat, and you're going to see some gusty winds along with it as well. Bigger picture, I don't want to forget about the mention here, even though we've got the tornado warning now in Delaware, a significant flash flooding concern here into parts of South Jersey, there into Cherry Hill, in Camden County, Gloucester County, Philly, Center City, Philadelphia. We've gotten several alerts coming in from the potential for roads being flooded, for cars being stranded, potentially people being stranded as well, and this is going to be a situation that unfortunately that is going to be hard to manage with the darkness of night coming over us and managing the reduced visibility, because it's not like just an hour came through with the heavy rain and now that's starting to clear out. You've got several more hours left, probably another 2 or 3 hours left of this at least moderate rainfall, if not some pockets of heavy rain right now. Washington Township in Jersey seeing some pretty heavy rainfall, gusty winds as well. Nothing severe on this one, but there is that flash flood concern starting to move right up the I-295 corridor there in Jersey. But we're here with you, telling you about the tornado warning that's in effect for Kent and Newcastle.
And under you all in the department had that saying, the prettier the colors, the uglier the situation, and we're seeing like 2 or 3 spots right there on your radar.
Yeah, and I'm going to step off the screen just for 1 second. I'm going to go grab another tool here that we have, so I'm going to run over there and grab that real quick. Let me put this into motion, and we'll continue to track this, because this tornado warning is going to go until 9:15, and this tornado warning initially came about of a very strong storm that was moving through Maryland that had been producing 70-mile-per-hour winds, and that will continue to be something that we'll watch. Even though we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning now, we still have this tornado warning that remains in effect. So 9:15 coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Just getting an update from the National Weather Service now that they're going to allow this tornado warning to expire. So this, and I say this tornado warning, this is the only tornado warning in effect for the region. But you'll still hear this heavy rainfall as it starts to come down on your roof. You'll hear it on your windows. You get some of those gusty winds, and the rain will hit the window when it normally doesn't, just on a normal shower. And that's because the rain's coming down so hard, and those gusty winds are blowing it a little bit sideways in some cases. And we're going to see an increasing threat for some flash flooding moving into South Jersey now with this area of rain that's associated with this rotation. That will be a considerable threat as well. And it looks like just to the south, we've got another concern for an additional tornado warning. It looks like we just got an additional tornado warning just to the south. Let me see if this one comes in right now. There it is. All right, so now a new tornado warning. This one is for Sussex County, so it does not include Kent County, but it's pretty darn close. So if you're in southern Kent County, there in the Milford area, technically not in this tornado warning that was just issued, but you are, that's the severe thunderstorm warning, excuse me. So severe thunderstorm warning, that one goes right up to the county line, and then there's our tornado warning. Now this one, there's Cape May. So that cell right there down towards Georgetown. Anyone in Georgetown, you've got that tornado warning here with that storm tracking to the north and east right now. So this is heading right towards Lewes, there in southern Delaware, there in Sussex County.
Now, could the untapped air over Jersey like reignite some of these?
Sure thing. In fact, you know, Yuki, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's look at that, because you talk about the untapped air, and one thing that we look at it is that energy, and we have a product that shows us this energy. So this is the available energy to fuel these storms. Not so much a lot of energy to fuel the storms and strengthen them over Philly and into Wilmington, but notice, I mean, almost right where our tornado threat is, that's where we have some of that available energy. So you're looking at Cape May County, you're up into Atlantic County, still some energy. So as that storm that's down in Georgetown right now tracks across the bay up towards Cape May, we'll have to keep an eye on that cell to see if we see any rotation. Monica, producer in the control room, you were just telling me we're going to take another live shot here. Is that right?
Well, that looks like a completely different picture wherever that.
Yeah, Route 1 near Milford here.
Okay.
That looks dry. Yeah, they have not gotten any rain all day today.
But you see the flashes of lightning though.
Yes, there you go. Wow. Right. Yeah, let me get over to a radar here. I can look at that as well.
And I don't know if you could tell from your vantage point, but I did look at one of the light posts there from that Milford shot, and the rain is coming down, so it is raining in that area. It looked like I saw that through the light, but it's
probably
not as
just
heavy.
Starting. Yeah, I mean, if it's right here, Route 1 and near Milford, right there. So yeah, it's just starting. I must have missed those raindrops, but We've got there's the radar site right there. 9:16. All right, so back up to the north. We had that tornado warning for Newcastle, Kent County. That tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but an ongoing flash flood threat across the immediate Philadelphia area and the urban corridor down into Wilmington. We will continue to track all of this, guys. We'll get you back to programming if we have any more updates to bring to you. We'll make sure to break in and let you know. Stay safe out there this evening, and we will see you at 11 o'clock, if not sooner. All right, guys, just coming down from the National Weather Service, a tornado warning just issued for Atlantic and Ocean County. And this is all associated with this very strong storm that's been moving up right along the shore. It hit Cape May first and now is tracking right over Atlantic City. So if you're in the Atlantic City area, make sure you seek shelter immediately. All right. This is coming in with very strong winds, frequent lightning, and what we're finding now is the possibility of a tornado. So this just coming in. We're seeing this rotation take place. So this is just north of Atlantic City. So this is up towards Brigantine. So in fact, I said in Atlantic City, even though the rotation that we're finding is just to the north of Atlantic City, we are finding still very frequent lightning and some gusty winds within this here. So if you're just tuning in, we're hitting 11 o'clock on the dot here. You're watching CBS News Philadelphia, and we've got a tornado warning in effect until 11:30 now, which includes Atlantic County and also Ocean County. So as we get information on this cell, we're going to track it out here. We're looking at this storm system and this particular area moving northeast very quickly here. It's moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. A lot of these storms that have been moving throughout the day have actually been moving very slowly. And this one picking up and moving quickly now. So let's track it out and let's see this thing as it tracks up towards Beach Haven right now. So Hallgate there around 11:15. It should be moving into your area. Beach Haven around 11:17, and then Spray Beach at 11:20. So this just coming in from the National Weather Service, a tornado warning in effect for Atlantic and Ocean County until 11:30 this evening. On top of this threat, in addition to it, I should say, we're also dealing with very heavy rainfall, and we've seen rainfall rates upwards of 3 inches in an hour, and that has produced a lot of flash flooding around the area. And that's been the focus of a lot of our attention throughout much of the night tonight. And that's where we're seeing that through the Philadelphia area back into parts of Wilmington, where we've had several water rescues. We've had reports of cars and people being stranded. Meanwhile, down the shore, you've got this ongoing threat of kind of the tail end of this severe threat, which is now producing this tornado threat over just north of Atlantic City into the Brigantine area. So this storm system moving quickly up to the north and east, and what we're looking at here, AC right there, obviously a live picture looking to the north. You see all the lightning there, you see the rain on the lens obscuring the view, but it is just up to the north of where we have this tornado threat. And what we're going to see here is probably that heavy rainfall continue, because the rainfall is sort of lagging behind the initial rotation right now. But you see, gosh, that frequent lightning there, that's some pretty intense lightning. And this intense lightning has been pretty much tracking northeast all across the Delaware Bay. We had reports of potential waterspouts over the bay, moving into Cape May, severe thunderstorm warning for Cape May, and then this powerful storm has continued to track right up along the shore there. So hitting Stratmere, Ocean City, now moving north of Atlantic City, and just continuing to track up to the north up towards Beach Haven as it moves into Ocean County, and then it'll continue to head up towards the Barnegat Inlet there. Even though Barnegat not technically underneath this tornado warning right now, still the same cell and the frequent lightning in this tornado threat will track up to the north and to the east. So a lot to track here, a lot that we're going to keep you posted on as we go throughout the rest of the evening. There's the ongoing flooding concern over much of the immediate urban corridor of the Philadelphia area. But this whole cell has really packed quite a bit of energy with it. I want to zoom out here, and I want to take you back over the last couple of hours just to show you where this has come from and ultimately, how it's tracking. In fact, once it moved into, this was the same cell that had a tornado warning down in Sussex County as it moved across the southern part of Delaware, moved over Georgetown, moved across the bay, and this is where we're finding it now. So there's been just a little bit of rotation, and it has found just enough energy and enough of that rotation now to bring this tornado threat right along the shore. So this whole area there from AC and points north, need to make sure you get to your safe place. Find that innermost room of whatever structure that you're in. Make sure you get inside. You don't try to go outside and look for this potential tornado. And even if it's not necessarily on land, there's a lot of water in there. You can get a quick spin up of a water spout. Technically, if a water spout moves over land, that is a tornado. So less friction here coming off of the Atlantic. Got a lot of back bays right here, and a lot of this water will reduce the friction and potentially allow this tornado to spin up maybe a little bit easier, just because you have a lot of wind speed coming in out of the south and east off of the Atlantic there. So that's maybe why we're seeing this threat.
Hey, Grant, that earlier system, I'm sorry, Grant, that earlier system, I was just thinking that was moving at what, like 20 miles per hour earlier, and now this is what, 40 miles per hour? Could the new air over Jersey have sped things up? How does that work?
Well, I think what we're seeing, Yuki, is yes, as it was moving across land, it was moving very slow, but as it's starting to have that less friction from the water, this storm is able to move a little bit faster. So it's tapping into some of that energy that was just sitting there all evening long over Jersey. So we had that energy that was available for the storm to fuel off of. Now it's picking up some speed, and that forward northeasterly progression there is where we're finding. In fact, what's happening is you're getting some strong winds coming in on the south side of it, and that's almost out chasing some of the slower speeds over land. So you have more friction over land, you have the faster wind speeds coming in off of the water, and just that change in speed, or that difference in speed, is probably enough right there that's helped that spin up. So you know, that's kind of in the weeds of why this is happening, but nonetheless you have a tornado threat that's right up along the shore. A lot of people, even up until around 9 o'clock, a lot of people down on the boards enjoying what was a decent evening down there. Yeah, it was warm, and we had a couple of stray showers, so hopefully everyone down there, you guys are keeping an eye on this, and you were aware of this threat, because we knew this was going to be an overnight thing, and these late night tornadoes and these late night severe weather situations always make you nervous, and you want to make sure you have a way to get severe weather information. A lot of people going to bed already. Maybe this storm had woke you up and you're tuning in, and if you're just tuning in now, this is what's knocking on your doorstep there. Beach Haven, you guys are up next, all right? So let's put another track on this system here just to give you the latest as we track this thing forward here. Holgate still right around 1119, Beach Haven 1121. It's 1106 right now. So I think it gets to Beach Haven here within the next 10 to 15 minutes as it tracks to the northeast quickly at 45 miles per hour. In fact, let's get an updated estimate on how fast this storm is moving. Again, some of the previous storms earlier on this evening were moving only at 20 and 25, like you've just said. And that was the concern with the flash flooding. You had very heavy rainfall, and the storm was just moving so slowly that rain just continued to fall and fall and fall. I had a couple people reach out to me and say, I've never seen it rain so hard for so long. And there's a reason for that. This is all tropical moisture that's literally coming up out of the tropics, out of the Caribbean. And that's why it felt like Florida today. And that's why this rain is so hard, because this is a tropical downpour. And when you start mixing with thunderstorms and motions in the atmosphere, this is where we're going to start to get that tornado threat. So we just got a new scan here. I'm going to switch over to our velocity mode. And this velocity mode shows us the wind speed and the wind directions. All right, so here, you guys are there on the right side of your screen here. This is Margate looking north looking towards Ocean City. Looks like we just lost connection there. This is an issue that we've had with all this rainfall and the lightning in these storms. We've been losing the connection. All right, so here's our velocity mode. All right, so the radar site is north, Fort Dix, and the red is telling us that the rain and the wind is blowing south. The green is the wind blowing the raindrops to the north. Look at that right there. There's an obvious change in wind direction and wind speed, and that's right there moving just south of Beach Haven. Let's zoom in even more. So obviously this area here, you don't have a huge amount of population just because of the fact that it's hard to get to a lot of these areas here, but Mystic Island right there, And I'll tell you what, I think Beach Haven and Kahala Park, this could be next in line. If there is a tornado on the ground, then you guys would be next in line. That is a clear rotation that we're finding that could potentially be producing a tornado right now.
Do you see that hook that you talk about often?
Well, and it's let's see. Let's look at that hook. This is something that we were looking at the tornado warning that was back into Kent and Newcastle County earlier. And there's a little bit of a hook here. If you see, there's that bow. Anytime you see a curvature within the rain that's showing up on the radar, that's an indication of some strong, powerful winds pushing that bow out in that direction. Meanwhile, you see how it's hooking back in. And again, Yuki, I mean, that's a great question, because that is a clear, at least a bow, and embedded within all that rainfall, because you have more rain north, you do have a little bit of that hook. It's not maybe as clear to see, but that's a clear indication of what we would see, some fast winds moving in from the south and west, and probably change directions right out ahead of that really heavy rainfall. So you have an inflow right here. That's inflow going into the storm. It's bringing in some moisture off of the Atlantic, and then on the backside you have that counterclockwise circulation, which is what we're seeing here on this other imagery, which is that velocity and showing you the change in the wind speed and the wind direction right there as it moves just east of Mystic Island, just to the southeast of Little Egg Harbor. So there's Little Egg Harbor, winds blowing in out of the north and west right there, and then you got those southeasterly winds there coming into Beach Haven right now. Let's check the update here. I think we just got an update from the National Weather Service at sea. Tornado warning canceled for Atlantic County. So there we see the new polygon. It gets kind of muddied with the coastline right there, and there's the county line right now for Ocean County, and then right there over to, that's actually Burlington County right there, and then you've got Atlantic County down to the south. So no longer a tornado warning for Atlantic County. Guys in the control room, you guide me here a little bit on how we're going to proceed if we want to continue to stay with this tornado warning as it moves into Ocean County, which there's a good possibility. National Weather Service is continuing this warning. I'm seeing the indication that there's rotation on the radar. There very well could be a water spout, maybe a tornado then moving on land, and obviously the farther north and east you go, you continue to hit these shore towns. So Long Beach up next, you've got Stafford there a little bit farther inland, Little Egg Harbor right there on the fringe of this tornado warning. So if you are tuning in right now, it's 11:11. We were about ready to start our 11 o'clock newscast here on CBS Philadelphia. Tornado warning came down for Atlantic and Ocean County, and that's what we're tracking right now. It's just more of a threat, in addition to the flooding threat that has come with this widespread heavy rainfall with these slow-moving thunderstorms, and then here we have just right on the leading edge of, is honestly this is the tail end of our severe threat for this evening. Some parts of the area no longer under a severe thunderstorm watch. In fact, the flood watch has been canceled for the Lehigh Valley, but we remain under this severe threat now for portions of Ocean County. They're right along the shore. This is right along the shore where many people down there for the summer, just enjoying things, kind of a carefree kind of day because it was so nice, relatively speaking, shore nice, hot. That's what you want down the shore. You want those sunny days, and here we are going into the overnight, and this is a dangerous situation here where you're talking about a tornado warning moving over the shore communities at the 11 o'clock hour. Literally, right? This is something that you don't want to see with that tornado threat. Let's check the velocity one more time. I'm still seeing that rotation, and I'll illustrate it on here for you and show. Those are those wind speeds that are traveling right up towards Beach Haven right now, and this is our couplet. This is that area where you have the quick change in the wind speed and that wind direction. On the backside, you have those northwesterly winds, and that's where you would see that potential tornado. At this point, this is all still very much just radar indicated. We have not received any reports of a tornado on the ground or a funnel cloud for that matter. And of course, if we get those reports, we'll pass them along to you. But anytime you get a tornado warning, even if we have these indicators right here, see where it says radar indicated? There's different levels of tornado warning. Sometimes it would be spotted or confirmed or on the ground, a lot of different things. So This is sort of your initial warning, but we have to treat it as if there is a tornado on the ground, or potentially one on the ground here relatively soon. I want to get back over up into the Philadelphia area. We'll touch back in on this tornado warning here in just a second. I do want to mention that the steady rain that has been falling across much of the Philadelphia area, which initially it was very heavy rainfall, which is why we have these flash flood warnings, that steady moderate rainfall is starting to move out. So we are starting to see some of our flash flood warnings expire, but we remain under a flash flood warning for northern Burlington County, includes Mount Laurel. Camden County includes Cherry Hill, flash flood warning for you guys. Also Philadelphia underneath a flash flood warning. And then back into Delco, Delaware County, Media, flash flood warning for you guys. Chester County also underneath this flash flood. No, excuse me. Let's see. No longer Chester. So that one was just allowed to expire. So we've just got Delaware County and a little farther north or south into northern Delaware County there in Newcastle, Wilmington included in that for that flash flood warning. So several reports of vehicles stranded, water on roadways. Roads have been closed this evening. Some of them are starting to reopen because of the water receding, but still there continues to be a flash flood concern across the Delaware Valley there. All right, back to the tornado warning that we've been tracking, which is why we're continuing the coverage here. It's 11:15, and we've got this tornado warning that is still expected to continue until 11:30.
And G, with that in mind, tornado precautions are in effect for our friends in Ocean County, correct?
Correct, absolutely, especially along the shore there, right? Right there in Beach Haven, and even up into Long Beach. Guys in Long Beach, if you're watching and you're in the Long Beach area, or you know somebody in the Long Beach area, I would just, look, seek shelter, get to that safe place. It's definitely going to rain hard, and the winds are going to get gusty right there. And all up along there, I think you guys need to get into your safe place. And I'll tell you this, a lot of people in their beach homes, maybe renting a place down the shore, best place to go, that innermost room. It could be a closet, it could be a bathroom, it could be just an inner hallway. Sometimes you got rooms on that side, you got a hallway running right through the middle of the home that you're in.
A windowless room, that's for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, a windowless room. Get away from this danger right here. Get away from this strong push of heavy rain, gusty winds, and the potential for that tornado, which is moving right along the shore. It's just east of Little Lake Harbor here. Let's zoom in here. Let's look at this a little bit closer. There's the hook right there. So when I say hook or when I say couplet, this is what I'm talking about. I'm looking at those wind speeds going like that and then circling around like that. I mean, that's a narrow strip of land right there. So if you had a tornado, it could be right there in the bay, right there in the back bay there, or it could be right into the Atlantic, or it may be somewhere right along the shore. And no doubt a lot of people in there and probably even sleeping right now. Hopefully you have the no-weather radio to alert you of this threat, of this tornado. Big picture here, let's zoom out once again. We'll put this into motion, and that'll show you the general trend of this. And it has been tracking right along the shore. Almost every single shore town, from Cape May to Margate to Sea Isle, and now Atlantic City, you're seeing the heaviest of the rain move out. But every single town, probably, if you were sleeping, you got woken up by this. And let me put on the lightning here. Let me turn on the lightning, and you'll see. See, it looks like it just locked up on me. Give me a second and we can see if we can get it back. There it goes. All right, so I'll pause it here. Just look at all that lightning with this cluster of storms. We can count that. We have a lightning tracker, and we can highlight that area that you see in the box. So just in the last 15 minutes, there's been 379 lightning strikes within that area. That's a ton of lightning strikes, and down the shore, that's loud. That's really loud thunder coming from all those lightning strikes right now.
And gee, wasn't the first warning, I think maybe that we heard about today, in the DC area, and everything has just steadily moved east?
Yes, there was a tornado warning for the DC metro. And in fact, I've seen some photos on social media this evening of one of those shelf clouds, those like mothership type of clouds, as that storm moved over the DC metro. In fact, Let's track this thing, because I'd be curious if we go back 5 hours here. We'll take this cell that's producing all of that lightning, and look at this as we go all the way back. This is actually coming off of the same cell. So this is 4 hours ago. There's the cell. And if we continue down, right into the DC area. So this is the same area that produced the tornado warning in the DC area. And then now it's moving over our shore and pushing up to the north and to the east right now. So, I mean, you can obviously pick out just by the lightning of where this threat is for this tornado warning. And I've had the lightning off because there's so much lightning that you can't see the rain, you can't see the cities, and you can't see specifically where this tornado warning is, which is now beginning to push north of Beach Haven. So we've got a new track here. Let me get a new check on this thing, a new sample, still moving at 40 miles per hour. And it's tracking to the northeast. It's just now starting to move north of Beach Haven, but Beach Haven, you are by no means in the clear at this point. There's still that couplet, still that rotation that is indicating there in Pihala Park, and then it's going to continue up to the north and east. But it is starting to move north of Beach Haven right now. Holgate, north of you guys, still raining hard, still a lot of lightning in the area. Certainly don't want to go outside quite yet. And then Atlantic City, you are no longer in the tornado warning. Tornado warning was canceled for Atlantic City and Atlantic County just moments ago. But no update, no information coming in about any sightings, which obviously it's dark outside. So that's one thing that, first of all, we don't want anybody looking for the tornado, but sometimes emergency managers, sometimes law enforcement will send in a report and say, yeah, we saw something here, and we'll get that relayed to us. But no reports of that yet, and hopefully there aren't any reports, and this is just maybe some rotation that was happening above the surface, and then that rotation never reached the ground, because that's what it is. Remember, this is a radar here, and that radar is sending out a beam to sample the atmosphere, and that's happening above the Earth's surface. So we're looking at this rotation, and while we do see the rotation, we don't know for sure if that rotation is actually reaching the ground. So that's why we issue the tornado warning, or why the National Weather Service issues the tornado warning, because there's the possibility that rotation in the larger thunderstorm produces that tornado.
Gee, I'm curious, as a viewer, could this weather wall we've been experiencing be any remnants of the awful situation in Texas? Is this any part of that as far as the system?
No, that system, believe it or not, was the remnants of a tropical system that came out of the Gulf of Mexico. That was Tropical Storm Barry. It lifted north, and that moved into Texas. So this is not associated with that. Though, Yuki, this is tropical moisture. So there is some similarity in the type of rainfall. One of the reasons why it was so bad in Texas is because you had that extremely rich atmospheric moisture coming in out of the Gulf, merging with Pacific moisture, producing all the rainfall. And in fact, if we look at I'll just go down here, I'll pull up this right now. If we just zoom out a little bit, and quite a bit actually, this is all tropical moisture. There's a high pressure system off the coast here, and this is all tropical moisture that is being lifted north from the atmospheric patterns, and it's running into this warm front right here. And that warm front is providing that lift to take all that moisture that's streaming north, and it's lifting it up, and that lifting mechanism in the atmosphere is ultimately what is producing all of this rain. So this is straight tropical moisture. That's why it felt like Florida earlier today, and that's why you're getting these tropical rains that really you would only expect to get in tropical locations. These are not normal rain that you would expect here in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey, and across the tri-state area. But just to put this all into motion, you can see this is all continuing to move north as that warm front lifts to the north as well. Live picture here coming out of Beach Haven, and you saw a couple of flashes of lightning there off to the right, and that's just as the storm continues to track to the north and east. and away from our area. Let's switch back over to the radar here, where again it's 11:23. We've got a tornado warning in effect for Ocean County, New Jersey, until 11:30. There's your tornado warning, and coming along with that tornado warning, you have an excessive amount of lightning, just a tremendous amount of lightning. That alone, lightning is not one of the criteria that the National Weather Service has to issue a warning of any type, but this is dangerous. All of this lightning right here, even though it's warm outside, you might think, I'm going to go look for this thing and see what's going on. This lightning alone is dangerous. I would not go out, even if there wasn't a tornado warning. This lightning is enough to really drive you right back inside. When you hear all that thunder coming down from all the lightning, yeah, that's dangerous. All right, so Beach Haven right now. We were just looking at some cameras there. All right, here's the camera. All right. So do we know? I'm guessing just by where I'm seeing the lightning here. I'm Route 72. Looks like we're looking to the northwest. Let's see here. Let's find Route 72 here. I'm not sure if I can. Let's see. North there. All right, there. All right, so Route 72. All right, there it is. All right, so that must have been. Let's turn on the lightning and we can see. So that camera, that must, yeah, looking to the south. Must be looking to the south there, southeast, as it heads right across the bridge there over into the shore, right along the water. It's a lot of lightning. Let's turn that lightning off. We know there's a lot of lightning there, but. Yeah, that's real heavy rainfall. That's blinding rain. I mean, and that was the problem earlier that we were dealing with here in Philadelphia. That rain was so heavy with a lot of the cameras that we were looking at, we couldn't even see what we were looking at. So the rain is heavy. That's obscuring your vision. That's dangerous enough. You factor in the frequent lightning, and now you're dealing with this tornado concern. Which, just looking over the last couple of scans here. And do this with me. We're all analyzing this together here. This is kind of a quick 101 on meteorology and radar analysis, because here we've got those greens. That's wind or rain, if you will, because that's what the radar is looking at. That's going toward the radar, so that's going that way. Your reds are rain and wind going away. Now this was at 11:18. It's 11:26 right now. So let's move forward. See how the intensity of the green dies down. That means that wind that was heading into that storm, or at least heading to the northwest, is weakening. So we don't have as much of that change in wind speed and wind direction right on the leading edge of that storm. Also important to note, where we had the couplet, or that area of rotation that was concerning for the tornado, that's moved offshore. So actually, just as we said that, getting the confirmation from the National Weather Service, they're saying the rotation of the storm has moved offshore of LBI. However, very heavy rainfall and wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour will continue to be possible. So they're seeing what we were seeing here together. They've got that tornado warning that will go until 11:30. They're going to allow that to expire at 11:30. So basically saying they're not going to continue it. The threat is moving offshore, but they're going to keep it up there because that's how long it was issued. No need to cancel it at this point. It'll expire here in 3 minutes. So we've got another few minutes left on here on our newscast here at 11:30, and I think we're probably just going to ride this one out. Is that the plan, guys? Going to keep going with that?
I think we're going to take a look at some of the situation in our area right now when it comes to the flooding as well, Grant, as long as you feel comfortable with that. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I think so. The threat for that tornado has moved offshore. So it's still heavy rain, gusty winds, but I do think we need to at least touch on this flooding issue that really started to unfold around 8 o'clock. I mean, it was cars being stranded. We had reports of water getting into homes. We had people needing to be rescued because of the flooding, Yuki. We've seen some video coming out of parts of Chester County of just water covering roadways. The water's starting to recede, but it'll take a little while. Yuki, we'll send things into you for now.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. We appreciate your expertise so much. Now, this round of severe weather prompted tornado warnings in parts of Delaware, as Grant mentioned earlier, and flash flood warnings all across the tri-state area. The rain fell fast and hard quickly making roads unrecognizable. Route 202 north in Chadds Ford, Delaware County, underwater tonight. It was much of the same along Lincoln Highway in Callan Township, Chester County. Drivers tried to make their way through inches of water near North Bailey Road. You know what we say, turn around, don't drown. Look at that, the wake is up near the door. And it was a soggy scene at Subaru Park. These storms thundered through Chester, postponing tonight's Philadelphia Union soccer match. The winds were whipping and the heavy rain ended up flooding parts of the pitch, as you see right there. Torrential downpours caused flash flooding in communities all across the region. Several feet of water quickly built up on roads, leading to drivers needing help. CBS Philadelphia Siafa Lewis is in Delco right now, where one of those rescues took place. Siafa.
Yuki, we are in Chadds Ford, PA, Delaware County, at the intersection of Baltimore Pike and Ring Road. For reference, Brandywine Battlefield Park is just in front of us across from Baltimore Pike. And on our way here from Philadelphia tonight along I-95, the torrential rain was so bad at certain stretches or in certain stretches that drivers were actually pulling over on the shoulder to wait things out. Now, of course, meteorologist Grant Gilmore has warned of potential flash flooding all afternoon and evening long, and that is exactly what happened behind me here on Ring Road as the drivers of these two cars found themselves stuck in water they could not navigate. EMS Captain Joe O'Leary of the Concordville Fire Protective Association explained what happened once they arrived on scene.
We arrived on scene with our water rescue team. We discovered two vehicles with a total of 3 occupants, 2 in the first vehicle, 1 in the second vehicle, that were trapped, unable to exit the vehicle safely. We deployed our water rescue resources. We were able to take a manual boat out there, remove them from the vehicle safely, and bring them onto the surface here without injury.
And of course, the good news here tonight is the fact that all 3 occupants were able to be rescued and they escaped any injury or possibly even worse.